Which of food, it's a very, very important topic, beta. It may come as a list question. Okay. So, what is the basic function of human food? We know it is supporting the body weight and it is also acting as a lever to propel body forwards during walking, locomotion. Isn't it? Our food is something like this. So, if the food was formed by single bone, our body weight couldn't have been sustained. So in order to just convert it as a lever, like in case of physics, so many movements and smooth movements to perform walking, we have the food is designed in such a way that all the bones what we see in food, they are very much irregular and they do not rest on the ground when you just lay them on the table also. When you have seen these bones, whether they are tarsals, metatarsals, or phalangeal bones, they are all wedge shaped and they do not usually lie flat on the ground. That means they are designed in such a way so as to bear the body weight. Okay, so that we can adopt our food on uneven surfaces. Okay, that is. Now see here, when you look at this food, is it flat on the ground or is it little raised? Okay. Is it more raised on medial side or lateral side? It's raised more on medial side. That means medial longitudinal arch will be high. When you compare, you look at it, your own arch. Lateral is not so much high. Height, height is less. Okay. So that is. So like see here, it is like the food is made up of all small bones and many joints, isn't it? What are the various bones to review first? We had calcaneum, talus,
Callus,
mandibular,
mandibular,
three
uniform,
cuneiforms, cuboid, very good, metatarsals, and 14,
metatarsals, phalanx.
14 phalangeal bones, isn't it? So all these are small bones and they have each and every bone will have, suppose if you consider navicular, proximally it is articulating with talus and calcaneum, distally it is articulating with the cuneiform bones. That means each bone is having connection with many bones nearby, isn't it? So that means it has multiple joints which is helping in adapting on uneven surface. Okay, so we have seen all the four layers of muscles in the sole. So all those small flexor muscles of foot also assist in propulsive movements. Okay, that is. Coming to the functions of arches of foot. So these arches, they help in proportional distribution of body weight to the ground. They act as segmented level which helps in propulsive mechanism of soleus and gastrocnemius. We know these two muscles are helping in propulsion activities of the foot. As that means they are helping in walking, okay, running also. So we know like arches of foot, they are designed in such a way they do not allow the foot to come to the ground like directly. It will not come in contact, but there is some arching because of which there is protection of underlying structures. Like we have blood vessels, medial and lateral tarsal vessels and nerves are well protected because of the presence of arches. Of course, we have many other structures also protecting plantar aponeurosis and muscles of sole. Apart from that, arches also serve in protecting vessels and nerves. Okay, they also act as a springboard, helping, that means like a spring, what we see in certain physiotherapy instruments or in some physics type of instruments, they help in jolting and jumping from a height. Okay, so that is. There are natural things what we are blessed with in the food. So these are like, if you consider certain physics not required, but it's confusing, not required at all. Now when you observe arches, so medially we have one arch, you call it as medial longitudinal arch, and laterally we have lateral. Apart from that, we also have anterior and posterior transverse arches. Let us have a look. See, this is medial arch. Does it not look high? Height. This is lateral arch. If you look from the medial aspect, what are the bones you are seeing? Calcaneus, talus, navicular, cuneiform, the metatarsals, and phalanges. Okay. From the other side, you are finding again calcaneus, then cuboid, then fifth metatarsal, and the last four phalangeal bones. So these are the bones which are taking part in the formation of the arches of medial side and lateral side. Okay, so that's how when you see from the medial aspect you call medial longitudinal arch. When you see from little toe aspect you call it as lateral longitudinal arch. Okay, now coming to medial longitudinal arch, this one it represents big arch. Okay, when you just draw a circle, it looks like a part of a circle. Okay, big arc of a small circle. Okay, summit means the highest point where arrow has been shown. That means where is the summit seen? Which bone you are seeing here? Navicular. Isn't it? So summit of arch lies at a higher level. Okay, now let us see what are the various bones which are contributing for the formation of medial longitudinal arch. Let us revise very fast these tarsal bones. The big one is calcaneus. Above calcaneus, superiorly resting is talus. Anterior to that we have boat-shaped navicular. Then we have three cuneiforms: medial, intermediate, and lateral cuneiforms, and this one is cuboid. Isn't it? These five are metatarsals and these 14 are phalangeal bones. Now, whatever are shown in a different color like blue, pink and green, these are the bones which are contributing in the formation of medial longitudinal arch. That means what are we finding? We are finding calcaneus, then we are also finding talus, then navicular, then three cuneiforms, okay, and medial three metatarsals. Okay, these are the bases and these are the heads. So that means the arch is extending up to the heads of the metatarsals. Okay, sometimes with these metatarsal bones we may have sesamoid bones, not always. Okay, that's why including if at all if they are there. Basically with great toe, big toe, usually we find two sesamoid bones. In case if they are there, they are also taking part in the formation of medial longitudinal arch. Okay. So overall, if you observe, arch is made up of most of the bones, okay, because of which there is a lot of strength in the arch. So as to maintain the foot in a raised position, so that it is not, is it coming directly in contact with the ground or is it lifted up? Instant. It's lifted up or resting on ground?
Lifted up.
It's lifted up, okay, because it is made up of more of bones and more of joints, okay, because of which you will have this resiliency. Okay, now continuing with medial longitudinal arch, so it has certain headings like it has summit, okay, then it has posterior pillar, then it has anterior pillar, okay, then key bone will be the talus. Now let us see how is this summit formed. So summit means, again I told you in the previous slide also, highest point. We just consider this whole thing. We know calcaneum, we know talus, navicular, three cuneiforms, and heads of three metatarsals are involved in the function of this arch, right? Now, the summit is this point, highest point, that is the whatever is shown in this red point, that is the highest point what we see, the trochlear upper surface of the talus, this upper surface. What bone is coming and articulating here? Yesterday we have discussed inferior surface of tibia, isn't it, for the formation of ankle joint. Medially we had comma-shaped facet, laterally we had triangular facet for the medial and lateral malleolus respectively. That was ankle joint. Now this is summit. That means if you just draw a line like this, are you able to make out this height, tallness? Okay, that is trochlear upper surface of the talus. Is the point where we have the summit. Okay, posterior pillar. Which bone are we finding here? Calcaneus. Please speak to me, beta. Anybody? Calcaneus. And start keep talking to me. Okay. Then and you have a projection. You call it as medial tubercle. Okay. Then this is anterior pillars. So anterior pillars. How many bones do we have, beta? Three bones.
Five.
First, second, and third. Is it head or bases? Heads, isn't it? It's the first, second, and third metatarsal bones. Okay, so overall, the main bone, the key bone of this particular arch, keystone is this one, head of the talus. Okay, So this is medial longitudinal arch. Now after medial longitudinal arch is over, now we are viewing the foot from the other side. Okay, so what is this arch now? Lateral longitudinal. Okay, so when you see, when you just compare the medial and lateral one, which is having a big arch, medial one or lateral one?
Medial.
Medial, very good. Lateral is comparatively shallow. It is less, not so much arch. So it is representing small arch of a big circle. So summit, that height is low better, not so tall, like so much big it is. Okay. What are the bones which are involved here? See, we are viewing from lateral aspect, whatever is left over. So again, you have calcaneus, cuboid, and the two metatarsals. If you view from this side, calcaneus, cuboid, and two metatarsal heads. Okay. So here the lateral arch is formed by less number of bones, and number of joints obviously will be less joints. So previous one was resiliency. That means what, more movements are possible because number of bones were more, number of joints were more with medial arch. Whereas number of bones and number of joints are less with lateral arch, because of which it is not so much flexible. That means it is little rigid in characteristic. Okay. So that means commonly it is also bearing the body weight before the medial arch. That means it is giving more of, is receiving more of body weight, and it is not concerned more with flexibility and movements. Is it clear better? Yeah, you know? Okay. Now, coming to lateral longitudinal arch, again we should go with summit. Summit is the highest point. So we are finding this is talus bone, isn't it? And this is below we have calcaneum. And this point is actually subtalar joint, which is forming the summit of the arch. Posterior pillar, okay, is this again. This is lateral side, lateral tubercle of calcaneum. Anterior pillar, we have heads of fourth and fifth metatarsal bones. Okay. And the main joint here we have is calcaneo-cuboid joint, because this is calcaneum and this is cuboid bone. You got this point, calcaneo-cuboid joint. Okay. There we have talonavicular beta. The main joint you will have is talus and navicle. That will be the key. Okay. What is happening every time 1 o'clock power cut? Yes, one there is connecting. Okay. Okay, better. Now then, apart from this, we also have two arches. So those are transverse arches. Transverse arches, one in front, the other is behind. Two arches we will have. So when medial borders of both the feet are approximated, that means when we are trying to place the foot on the ground completely, then you will see we will have complete transverse arch is formed. Or else if the see here, better. This is one transverse arch. Okay, what is that? This is one anterior transverse arch and the other, this is posterior transverse arch. This view, it will help us to understand better. So at the heads of the metatarsal bones, we have anterior transverse, and at the basis we are having this line, this is the posterior transverse arch. The other view, it will have little confusion. Hope you understood the transverse arches.
Mm.
So when medial border of both the foot are approximated, complete transverse arch is formed. That means this is one foot, this is another foot. These are two legs. When you are just trying to lift, then you will see this. Okay, like this. So medial borders of both foot are approximated, complete transverse arch is formed because lateral longitudinal arch is lower. We know, no, this is lower position, and I told you the circle is more with medial arch and circle is less with lateral arch. So it looks like this. Okay. Each foot is presenting half tone with concavity directed downwards and medial. Okay. Each foot. This is half tone. This is also half tone. Both together complete tone, and you will see the direction is downwards and towards midline. Okay. See the arches, like you will see what are the things I told you, basis of metatarsals. At that point we have cuboid and three cuneiforms. Okay. The anterior transverse arch, I told you, it is formed by heads of metatarsus. No? So, next factors maintaining the arches of foot. So, how is this possible? Like our foot is not directly resting on ground. What are the various factors which are lifting all these bones up and maintaining the arches of foot? See, applying the engineering devices of arch support of a stone bridge to human foot. Like we are just comparing it to something like a tire button. Okay, then first of all, when you see the shapes of bones, is it regular or irregular bones? We have seen talus, we have seen navicular, we have seen cuboid. Are they very much regular, systematic, or they are very much wedge shaped, irregular?
Regular.
They are irregular, wedge shaped. They are not flat. They are not directly resting on ground, isn't it? The shape of bone is highly irregular, wedge shaped. Okay, and whatever joints are there, intersegmental ties, that staples, they are also not in the same plane. One is see, this level is quite high, whereas this level is low. Is it all the joints are lying in the same plane or they are at a different height? Hema?
Different height.
They are at different height, right? Isn't it? So those are intersegmental ties, okay, which are nothing but staple, binding things. Bindings are nothing but joints. So the other factors in the sole, we have seen 4 layers of muscles, okay, which act as tie beams. We will see what are tie beams. That means they will hold the bones in position, and they are also tendons, ligaments. They are suspending the bones from above. Okay, so all these factors, they are actually acting as bridge stones, okay, and which are maintaining the arches of foot. Okay, then when you come to the shape of bone, so wedge shaped. All bones are very much irregular. They are wedge shaped with thin edge directed to flat surface, that is plantar surface. The surface above is called as dorsal surface. The surface which is below is plantar surface. Okay. So head of the talus is the center of arch. This when you consider this medial arch. This. Okay, that's why it is key bone, keystone, in front of which we have navicular. Okay. That's the reason you call the main joint you have here is talo-calcaneo navicular joint. We have three bones meeting point. Talo-calcaneo-navicular joint. It's the key joint what we see at which arch? Medial,
Medial.
medial longitudinal arch. Okay. Then, so this is actually resting on this shelf-like projection which is the centaculum tali of calcaneus. Okay, this talus bone. Okay, that is. Now, intersegmental ties. Now, I told you I will be showing you the various structures in the sole which are holding the bones in position. So, when you just recollect sole, what is the first layer of sole we have seen later? Plantar poles, isn't it? Then we have seen the first layer muscles, abductor, hallucis flexor, digitorum brevis, and abductor digite minima, isn't it? That means, are they going along the muscle or are they connecting the bones? Are they going along the bones or are they connecting the bones?
Connecting.
They are connecting the like distant bones with the proximal bones, isn't it? It is something like
Mm.
that. Okay, that's the reason also it is giving the intersegmental tie supported by plantar calcaneo-navicular ligament. This is actually called as spring ligament. That means in the whole region between the calcaneum and navicular. See here, you can see this. What is this bone we know? Calcaneum. What is this bone we know? Navicular. So connecting them, we have plantar, that is in the sole aspect, calcaneo-navicular ligament. That is one intersegmental type. Okay. Then,
Mm.
so itself it is supported by slip off. See what are the muscles we have seen passing through flexor retinaculum, rhombic hairy muscles. Did we see they are entering into sole?
Mm.
Is it?
Yes.
So We are finding, see, tibialis posterior tendon is passing, isn't it? Then one permit stretch, which is culminating to flat hoop formation. Okay. Then tie beams. Tie beams, that means they are all connecting the bones with tie beams like this. So this tie beams prevent separation. This is one of the tie beam. No? What you are finding? Plantar aponeurosis. What is the other muscle you are finding?
Analysis.
That means they are just tying the
Mm,
proximal bones with distant bones, something like that. That is the meaning of tie beams. Okay, they prevent.
mm,
So I told you this is anterior pillar, this is posterior pillar, right? When we were
mm,
discussing the medial arch. That means anterior and posterior pillar are tied together by means of such structures which are called as tie beams. They prevent separation of pillars. Okay,
mm,
so this is very good to tell what are tie beams. As you see here, plantar aponeurosis and abductor hallucis. We know adjacent muscle to abductor hallucis is flexor digitorum brevis, no? First layer muscle. Okay, as you move up, we have flexor hallucis longus and flexor digitorum longus. Okay, flexor hallucis brevis. So all these muscles we are finding in the sole, which are just connecting the proximal row of bones with the distal row of bones. Okay, beta? So like that you remember flexor digitorum brevis, flexor digitorum longus, flexor hallucis longus, flexor hallucis brevis. Okay, Hallucis is the one which is going towards big toe. So we have longest brevis, and digitorum means four tendons. That is also longest brevis. It will be easy for you to remember. Apart from that, we have plantar aponeurosis and abductor hallucis. Okay, beta? So what are they
mm.
acting as?
Tie beams.
Tie beams. Again, for your review, this was our first layer, no? Like first
Mm,
skin, then below which we had plantar aponeurosis. So then we have flexor digitorum brevis, abductor digitum minimi, then abductor hallucis we have seen, isn't it? So like that we
mm,
have seen all the layers of muscles. What is the muscle
mm,
which is coming into the from the foot to the sole? From the posterior compartment, flexor digitorum longus, flexor hallucis longus. This was flexor digitorum accessorius. In between, we had
mm,
lumbricals. As you remove this, we had plantar and dorsal interossea. Isn't it better?
mm.
This is lateral plantar
Yes.
artery and nerve. This is medial plantar nerve and medial plantar artery.
Mm,
So all these are well protected because of the presence of these arches, medial arch and lateral arch. Now, suspending arch from above, that means something is lifting. See, suspending arch, something you are finding which is holding you up from above, like this,
mm,
above. So, which tendon
mm.
is holding from above? You are finding, see, one is tibialis anterior and superficial fibers of deltoid ligament. Where did we come across this word deltoid ligament, beta? In yesterday's class, which joint? Emma?
Ankle joint.
So it has superficial fibers and deep fibers, is it right?
Mm,
How many components it has? Superficial and deep components, no?
mm, mm.
Isn't it? Okay.
Yes.
Then, that was all about median. Now we are moving to lateral longitudinal arch. Now here also you will see shape of the bone is very much irregular. There the key bone was talus, here the key bone is cuboid. Okay, better? So shape of the bone, calcaneal angle, that means very much irregular. Always remember they are wedge shaped. Okay, so if you just draw something like this, it looks like a triangle button. Okay, you're just comparing it with some stone arch, like some bridge stone. So we are just
Mm,
comparing such things with our food to understand it better. Okay, so that is. So we are finding one triangular projection maintaining the upward tilt of long axis of calcaneus. This is the upward tilt of the long axis of calcaneus, which is actually facilitated by the shape of cuboid bone. Okay, so that is. Now, intersegmental is supported by long and short plantar ligaments. Okay, we are finding this is long plantar ligament. Okay, you are also finding short plantar ligaments. Okay, yeah. Tie beams, again same like what we have studied for medial arch. What did we study there? Bit of plantar aponeurosis, abductor hallucis we studied for now. No, for the medial one. This is you are seeing from little toe side. So which muscle do we have there? Abductor digiti minima. Okay, apart from that, as tie beams, these are the tie beams. We have flexor digitorum brevis and flexor digitorum longus tendon. Apart from that, we have flexor digital medial tendons. So these are all muscles which are holding the proximal and distal row of bones and maintaining it such a way that the other bones are not coming and touching the ground. They should not come and touch the ground. They should be maintained in the form of an arch. Okay, that is the meaning of this tidings. Okay. So again, the same picture, same as in Shabana. Now suspending arch from above. These are the muscles. We have peroneus brevis and we have peroneus tertius. Peroneus tertius we found in which compartment? Anterior compartment of leg. Peroneus longus and brevis in which compartment did we see?
Lateral.
Very good. Lateral compartment of the leg. Okay. So that is. We are finding the peroneus longus is actually going into the sole. It runs all along the sole to get inserted at the base of the first metacarpal, isn't it? So long journey we have studied. Okay. Now maintain, apart from this, I told you we have two arches, transverse arches, no? At the heads of the metatarsals and also at the base. We have two anterior transverse arch and posterior transverse arch. The one which we have studied like this, just in our previous labs. So this wedge-shaped nature of intermediate uniform bone is the keystone for this formation of these transverse arches. Here also we have intersegmental ties. The structures here which are forming are deep transverse ligament, other intrinsic plantar ligaments, dorsal interosseous, that means we are going deeper now, and adductor hallucis. Okay. So for this transverse arch, the tie beams are tendon of peroneus longus and tibialis posterior. Okay. Then suspending arch from above, we have peroneus tertius and brevis, lateral side, and tibialis anterior, medial side. Okay. That is all about arches of foot beta. You need to just put some like attention to understand this. Okay. So after this, see arches of foot, are they important or not? They are protecting underlying vessels, nerves. They are protecting muscles. So many structures are well protected because of the presence of arch. Suppose if this arch is not developed, then what is happening? See here, this foot is resting directly on the ground. What do you call this deformity as?
Flat.
Flat foot, also called as best flanks. Okay, it is the commonest deformity we come across. Okay, so by birth itself they may not be found. Sometimes exaggerated arches also may be present. That is called as high arch. This is normal arch. This is flat arch. Okay, so now disappearance of arches of foot, it may be due to abnormal weight distribution of arches. Okay, it may be loss of muscle tone in leg on prolonged standing, and predisposing factors are faulty footwear, bad walking, long, slender, rapidly growing foot. It may be genetic also. Obviously, if such a foot is there, the underlying vessels and nerves will be compressed and there will be pain along the distribution of these vessels and nerves. Okay? But the pain is actually radiating towards toes, we call it as metatarsalgia. Sometimes when you are standing in dissection hall for a prolonged time, when you go for your clinical bedside rounds, you need to stand for so many hours continuously. Then we will generally come across the pain along the whole along the foot and the plantar aspect. That is nothing but metatarsalgia. Because of the prolonged standing, the nerves will be compressed. Okay, this is. So this is normal footprint. We can check with the help of this also whether the person is having flat foot or highly arched foot. Because callus is highly arched. Okay, normal uh, looks like this. This is the medial longitudinal arch. This is the lateral longitudinal arch. And this is high arched foot. We also call it as claw foot. Okay.
Mm.
So, which side is this better? Medial side.
Medial.
The exaggeration of longitudinal arch, plantar flexion at transverse tarsal joints, anterior part of foot drops below the level of posterior part. Toes, they become dorsiflexed like this at metatarsophalangeal joint. Okay, then plantar flexion at interphalangeal joints. Okay, all these deformities. So different types of deformities you are finding. Talipus equilis. Okay, so foot fixed in plantar flexion, toes on the ground and heel is raised. You see with polio cases, no? Something like this.
Mm.
Talipus equilis. Okay, talipus calcaneus. That means the foot is resting on calcaneus. The foot is dorsiflexed, heels on the ground and toes upturned. In talipus, varus is there. Okay, something like this. Foot fixed in inversion. Inversion in the sense I said, when the sole of the foot is facing on the medial side, you call it as inversion. When it is facing outside, you call it as reversion.
Inverse.
That foot is actually called as talipus valgus, something like this. Okay. So many deformities are there. At least if you write two or three are also enough. March foot is people who do so much of march fast as we see in soldiers. Okay. So because of prolonged march fasting, it may undergo like neck of the third metatarsal undergo decalcification. So because calcium is not properly present, the bones also may get fracture, pathological fracture. This you see with gout also, no? This type of deformity, the deposition of calcium. So this is hallux valgus. Great toe is deviated laterally at metatarsophalangeal joint. Okay.
Mm.
That is hammer toe is something like this, what you are seeing here. Okay. So I hope you understood.